Krampus, Tomato is the new movie starring Adam Scott, Toni Collette, and David Kocher. Basically, this movie is about Krampus, who is the complete opposite of Santa Claus. Instead of bringing joy and gifts, he brings death and destruction. And I'll be honest, guys, I went into this movie thinking it was going to be a total shit pile of poop. But literally after the opening scene, I really started to enjoy it. This movie is supposed to be kind of a blend of comedy and horror. And to me, because of the PG-13 rating, the horror aspect of it really sucked. And to be honest, it wasn't like super funny either. I almost look at this as more of a drama/action movie. Some of the biggest pros of this movie involve the overall production value of the movie. To me, when I saw the trailer, it looked like one of those movies that would be like straight to DVD or video on demand with a really low production value. That's just a horrible, crappy movie that they were just like, well, we're running out of stuff to put into theaters, so let's just put it out there. But actually, the cinematography was really good. The camera shots, just the overall look of the movie was really good. And they didn't use a bunch of crappy CGI or anything. They used practical effects like puppets and masks and things like that, so it looked pretty cool. The overall design of Krampus himself, I actually thought was really intimidating and really cool. When he first shows up, I was like, oh man, he is badass. But one of the biggest problems is that they barely show Krampus in the movie. The biggest thing terrorizing this family is really his little minions. There's a whole act in this movie that reminds me exactly of The Nightmare Before Christmas. You know, when they get those gifts that they thought was going to be all Christmassy, but was really terrorizing those people. Yeah, it was exactly like that. There's also kind of this really cool memory sequence that was done in like claymation or something. The old grandma, she's kind of telling the story of Krampus to the family, and they do it in claymation, and that was kind of a neat little aspect to the movie I wasn't expecting. But this movie did have some cons to it. Even though it was super entertaining, there was just some confusing things to me, but I still don't really understand what he is. They kind of say in the trailers he's the shadow of Santa Claus. But what made him show up? I mean, in this movie, it's basically this family is just really dysfunctional. But to be honest, there's a lot of dysfunctional families out there, and I don't see them getting terrorized by Krampus. You know, usually the story is if you're bad, you get coal in your stockings, not get terrorized by a bunch of minions and murdered. Because based on the way it happens in this movie, Krampus should probably be showing up in more families than Santa Claus does. And the other big problem I had with this movie is the violence. Not because there was violence, but because there wasn't enough violence. This movie was PG-13, and it would have really benefited this movie if it was rated R. Almost every single death in this movie, basically just them seeing something and then it cuts away to a different scene and it's just kind of implied that they die or kidnapped or something. You never really see anyone die in this movie except for one person who you kind of see get eaten. You just kind of see his feet going into the mouth of one of the things. And it also didn't really make much sense because some of the minions were like fighting each other. There was like these evil elf things and they got attacked by another one of like the evil things. So I was like, why are they against each other? I didn't get that. But even with those problems, I was thoroughly entertained during this movie. It actually kind of got me in the Christmas mood for some weird reason. They do kind of make it this cozy atmosphere and they make it really Christmassy before it gets all crazy. And they play a lot of Christmas music.
Kids jingle bells.
Merry Christmas!
Looks like Martha Stewart threw up in here.
This is delicious, honey.
It's a little dry.
Well, mine's delicious.
Mine's dry.
Do you want to trade?
And it was kind of one of those cheesy movies where I feel like I could watch it every year, mysteriously. And honestly, the way I look at this movie, it's kind of like a horror movie for beginners. So if you have kids out there, you kind of want to introduce them to horror movies, but you don't want them to see a bunch of blood and guts yet because maybe they're not old enough for that. This would be a good movie to introduce them to because there are scary aspects to this movie, but it's not just like straight up horror and blood and guts and murder. And there actually is a message to this movie as well. The overall message of this movie is basically that we've kind of lost the spirit of Christmas and what it really is to be giving. And they really show that with the opening shot of this movie, which is like this slow-mo shot of people bursting into the store on Black Friday and like attacking each other for gifts while they're playing like this music song. It was awesome, I thought. And they do kind of show just how selfish people have gotten in general. And I'm really conflicted on how to rate this movie because I was entertained during it, but then there's the ending. And I thought it ended at one point, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I could see it ending there. But then it kept going, and then I was like, really? That's how they're ending it? And then it kept going. going and I was like, oh, wait, what? And so I was kind of confused. I felt like the end of the movie can kind of be interpreted in a few different ways. And I would love if you guys, if you saw the movie, to comment below and let me know the interpretation of the ending to you. So the more I think about it, I think I am going to give this movie a friends with benefits. It's entertaining enough that I could rewatch this every year. It has some replay value. I really hope they come out with a DVD version that's rated R where they can actually cuss and say fuckers instead of you fludger, and if they actually show some serious violence. But in the end, I do recommend you guys go see this movie. It is going to be a lot better than you expect, and I could probably see this movie again even though it has some issues. Also, if you get a chance, I suggest you check out this guy's page right here. His name is Jimmy Cage. He does some awesome movie reviews. Also, it seems like he puts them out pretty consistently, and he tends to put them out before a lot of other people, so really, please check him out. So if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. If you agree with my review, press like. If you disagree, press dislike. If you're not familiar with my movie rating system, click the link above to check out my movie rating video. And stick around after this for some more movie reviews if you can handle it. Go!